Okay. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the community version of the Tor State of the Onion, talking about all of our different pieces of our ecosystem. Last week, you hopefully heard from the core Tor teams side of things. There's a video for that, so you should definitely go watch what we have all been up to. This week, we're going to talk about a bunch of different nonprofits in our ecosystem, in our space, that are also doing cool things that we wanted to highlight for you. Part of the strength of Tor has always been our global community and people who care about transparency and freedoms and diversity of opinions and goals are a big piece of that. And after all, why we want privacy varies across cultures and across people and time. So we want to show you some of this variety and get you thinking about important other pieces in the privacy ecosystem. That said, this is a fundraising goal as well. We're a small nonprofit with a big impact, and if you care about what we're doing, then consider donating. We have a donation match going on now through the end of the year, so if you give us $25, that will turn into $50, and consider donating to us or consider donating to the other nonprofits that we're going to highlight during this program, or consider participating and contributing in other ways. And with that said, our initial speaker will be Arturo from OONI, and the Open Observatory for Network Interference has been crowdsourcing censorship information for the past quite a few years now. Their cool claim to fame is they have a huge open data set of what the internet looks like all around the internet, whether you can reach certain sites and do certain protocols. And they have a huge community of testers, and they've gone through a lot of work to try to make sure that they're providing informed consent for those testers so that people know what they're doing. And OONI was originally part of Tor, and then it spun out into its own organization, and it's still part of our broader ecosystem. So Arturo, take it away.
Great, thanks Roger, and thanks for the great introduction. So as Roger said, I'm Arturo. I started OONI more than 10 years ago as part of the Tor project. And I'm here with you today to share some updates from the universe, or what we've been up to in the last year. So to start off, I would like to share some stats, let's say, from the last year to provide a bit of some highlights. So this past year, we published 10 research reports documenting internet censorship worldwide. We collected more than 500 million network measurements from more than 10,000 different networks, covering basically every country in the world, more than 212 countries and territories. And so to start off, I'd like to share some of the highlights from some of the research over the last year. This is only a selection of a few reports. You can find all of the reports we published on our website. In February 2023, it was the anniversary of the Russian aggression against Ukraine, and in honor, to sort of document what had happened over the last year, we did a joint work in collaboration with Roskomsvoboda, which is one of the major digital rights NGOs in Russia, analyzing what we could see from OONI data from January 2022 until February 2023. And some of the highlights from the report was that some new blocks emerged targeting human rights websites, investigative journalism sites, independent news media sites, and also Instagram and SoundCloud and Patreon started to be blocked. One interesting fact is that Tor Project's website was temporarily unblocked and then reblocked again over the course of this period, whereas several other sites connected to the Tor project were fully unblocked and stayed unblocked. We speculate as part of a block list cleanup. Later in the year, in the 1st of June 2023, a series of violent protests erupted in Senegal following the sentencing of an opposition leader. As a result of this wave of protests, we started to see the block of several social media platforms from June 1st to June 7th, And as the protests intensified, at some point there was even a full-blown internet blackout affecting one of the networks in the country. This was also the year where China started to block OONI. So on the 7th of July, China began to block our website, but most importantly, our backend services used by our app. As a result of this, we started to see a drop in OONI measurement coverage, where our probes were no longer able to submit measurements back. So we worked on a fix to try to address this, but actually, at some point, before we were able to ship the fix, China unblocked us. It's unclear why that happened, but the fix is now out there, so if it happens again, hopefully we will be a bit more resilient. On the apps front, we worked on a lot of very exciting features. One of them is we launched OONI Probe Web, which allows you to run website reachability testing inside of your web browser. We also made several improvements to OONI Explorer, where we launched new network and domain-centric pages that allow you to explore the OONI network measurement data from the perspective of a domain or the perspective of a network. We also added a new censorship findings section on OONI Explorer, which are basically incidents affecting internet censorship that we curate manually and provide insight on what is being blocked around the world. So you can think of these as a more short form version of our more in-depth reports. On the methodology front, I guess one major area of work is our new throttling methodology, where basically we're collecting much richer timing information as part of our network measurements that allow us to say things like the performance of this particular service is being degraded to the point that it is likely that it's some form of intentional throttling. And we use this new methodology as part of the report we published where some news sites were being throttled in the Kazakh 2022 presidential elections. We've also been working on improving our analysis methodology, where basically we are working on decomposing network measurements into distinct observations that then allow us to iteratively and incrementally build upon new experiment results. Our hope is that through this more flexible way of looking at network experiments, we will be able to produce much more accurate and incrementally improvable analysis of the OONI measurement data. Finally, on the community front, we reached 8 new partnerships were formed in this year. We trained more than 500 people as part of either online or in-person workshops. And we also published the OONI Outreach Kit, which is now available in Russian, French, Spanish, and Swahili. Another update is that OONI is now registered as an NGO in Italy. Whereas previously we were fiscally sponsored under a different organization, we're now fully recognized as a third sector nonprofit organization. What's next? Well, I'll just give you 2 things. One thing is we're going to be launching OONI Run v2, which is a major revamp of the OONI Run platform, as well as very interesting and exciting features are coming to OONI Explorer. Lastly, I would like to mention that we just launched yesterday the Unique Boutique, where you can get a bunch of OONI swag, including the t-shirt you see I am wearing here today, but also other things. And we also did some revamp of our donation page. So if you would fancy some OONI swag or would like to support the project, you can check out those 2 links. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll send it back to Roger.
Awesome. Thank you, Arturo. I encourage everybody here to install OONI Probe and help contribute to the dataset, and also check out OONI Explorer for the data and the swag portal that Arturo talked about. One of the fun challenges in the censorship measurement world is you're always tempted to be neutral and be like, look, here's the data shows what the data shows. But the reality is that the censorship in a lot of cases is political, and if you simply publish the data without any analysis, nobody really understands what's going on. So I've always been impressed by OONI's managing to balance being a neutral data set organization with also explaining to people what the data means. Yeah. Okay. From here, we've got Bokanon from Tails coming up next. One of the cool things, claim to fame in the Tails world is this is the way the journalists who were looking at the Snowden documents stayed safe while talking to each other and looking at the documents. A lot of people use Tor browser on their own system, on Windows or Linux or whatever, but having an entire system dedicated to doing privacy right can make things a lot safer. And one of the things that I especially like about Tails is that they stick to and focus on their values of caring about freedoms and caring about users. And Bokanon, please go.
Thank you for that, Roger, and hello, everybody. Before I get into Tails, I wanted to thank OONI as well. Personally, I have benefited a lot from your work, and a lot of my research and writing has been informed by your data sets. So thanks again. But today I'm here on behalf of Tails, and um, and today what I'm going to be talking about is uh, what we do. Roger obviously gave a great introduction, but I'm going to dig in a bit more, and then sort of talk about how Tails is used by groups, how it was used in the past year, our work in 2023, and what we have in store for the coming year. Perhaps many of you are already familiar with Tails, but for the many who aren't, Tails is a portable operating system that protects people from surveillance and censorship online. We like to think of it as a liberating technology that puts people in control of their digital lives. Tails is used by diverse at risk populations that face both online and offline surveillance, and particularly censorship as well by powerful and malicious actors like governments, corporations, or even abusive relatives. These populations include activists, journalists, domestic violence survivors, and privacy concerned people like me whenever we need some extra privacy in this rapidly digitizing world. Now, there are several properties of Tails that make it useful for these populations. One is to protect from online surveillance and censorship, as I shared already. What we do is that all internet traffic from Tails goes through the Tor network. But Tails also makes it easy to use Tor for other things, for things other than browsing the web, that is, sending emails, chatting with friends and comrades, transferring files, and so on. Tails also protects its users in the unfortunate event of search and seizure by leaving no trace on the computer when shut down. But this does not mean that Tails users cannot store any data. Well, what Tails has is an encrypted volume, which we call the persistent storage, which exists on the USB stick on which Tails is running, which helps Tails users to store some personal files and configurations. What Tails also does is that it temporarily turns the machine that is running Tails into a secure machine, free from malware, or to stay safe while using somebody else's computer. This particular property of Tails has been quite handy in a heart-wrenching investigation that was published earlier this year. So in 2022, Guacamaya, a cyber activist organization in Latin America, obtained and released 6 terabytes of data, which is over 4 million documents revealing Mexico's Ministry of National Defense and the Mexican Army's persecution of actors involved in progressive political movements. In March this year, investigative journalists from Poder and Serendipia, also both organizations based in Latin America, used Tails to comb through this data and unearthed the systematic espionage of feminists and LGBTQIA groups in Mexico for the past 50 years. This investigation revealed the gory details of the collection of very detailed personal information and surveillance. In fact, in one of the documents, feminists were deemed as much of a risk for airport security as drug cartels. But part of what makes their work remarkable is the risk that they undertake. Powerful authoritarian actors are not really known for taking censure lying down. And that's where Tails helped. by protecting journalists from malware in the troves of data that they were combing through. And while they did this, Tails created a safe digital environment for the investigating journalists. In fact, Poder recommends using Tails for its anti-malware, anti-censorship, and anti-surveillance properties. So what really were we up to in the past year? In addition to supporting investigations like the one I just discussed, we brought a ton of usability upgrades to Tails. We have always placed a strong emphasis on user experience, documentation, and working in close relationship with the users and organizations on the ground, because even the most theoretically secure piece of software is worthless if people can't use it. It can even become more dangerous by providing a false sense of security if it isn't usable. And that's what we spent most of our time bringing to Tails in 2023, the first year of our 3-year strategy. We brought about much better usability in 2 of Tails' core features. One is the persistent storage that I discussed earlier, and the other is the Tor connection assistant. In the persistent storage, we made it easier for Tails users to both back up their data or delete it if they so want. We also introduced better password practices for securing the persistent storage. This upgrade makes the persistent storage exponentially more secure. And we also fixed several other bugs users were experiencing when activating and unlocking the persistent storage. You can read all about these improvements in our updated documentation on the website. And as regards the Tor connection assistant, it's much slicker now. We improved the error messaging when connecting automatically to the Tor network, and the Tor connection assistant now handles captive portals better, a common refrain that many of our users had. In 2024, we plan to bring some exciting upgrades to Tails. The fact that Tails doesn't easily support things like mobile messaging or making video calls has been increasingly flagged in feedback from our users and from potential users, especially journalists working in collaborative investigative projects. In the coming year, we want to work on improving the communication tools that Tails offers. This means many new exciting features in the pipeline. And so that we can have these features, we need your support. And here's my plug to donate to Tails if you can. Our annual fundraiser is live, and most of our revenue comes from our users and supporters' contributions. And of course, there's nothing better than a bit of giving to start the new year. But if you can't, there are many other ways in which you can contribute. You could spread the word, and I highly recommend subscribing to our mailing lists. I promise it's a low traffic mailing list. Thank you so much for having me here, and I wish you a good rest of the day.
Great. Thank you. It's impressive to see actual high-profile activist use cases around the world. When we started working on Tor originally, and I think Tails was in that boat too at the beginning, the user base was a lot smaller and a lot more technical. And now we have millions of people around the world using Tor and a lot of interesting high-profile activist use cases where they really need tools like Tails in order to be able to do what they're doing safely.
Thank you, Roger, and thanks for having me.
Yep. Moving on to number 3, we've got Nathan from the Guardian Project. One of the cool things about the Guardian Project, they cared about mobile before mobile was cool. Now everybody is talking about making sure that the phones can handle all these apps and do it safely and efficiently and usably. But they've always been pushing us on the mobile UX user experience side. So I think Nathan has a video that we're going to play next.
Hi everyone, it's Nathan Freitas, or Nate Freight on the interwebs. I know in the past I've done State of the Onion as a avatar with funny glasses and various gags. I do like to have fun, but this year just wanted to get down to business.
I really want everyone to understand how we're moving Tor past just browsing on a mobile device and the desktop, but into really this ecosystem of applications for sharing and messaging and communicating, and how through work on shared development libraries, on new technology like Arty, how we're really wanting to open up Tor to developers everywhere.
So we're going to show a few apps today and how they all work together, and give you a sense of just where things are with the Tor ecosystem on mobile. So first, I just wanted to show, some of the apps and that we have on iPhone and Android. We've been on Android for a while, but iPhone support for Tor continues to grow and evolve in different ways. Of course, we've got Orbot available on both Android and iPhone. And, one of the cool features we have now, you see our new user interface with Orbi. We have full support for what's called the Tor Circumvention Settings API. So you can just ask Tor what kind of connection you need. It'll just say, direct, because I don't need any pluggable transports. But you can also use things like Snowflake, of course, and connect to that, which can be really important for people in restricted environments. You can also, of course, as always, choose different apps you want to connect through Tor, and we highlight some at the top that might be blocked or best to use. So of course we have a lot of great other apps to show. On iOS, people know Onion Browser, and that's been there for a while. What's cool about Onion Browser is it can work on its own with its own connection to Tor, or it can interact with Orbot. So there's some options there, and we've been making improvements there. If you have iOS 17, it can run standalone, which is pretty exciting. So but Onion Share really has come a long way in recent years, and on mobile now it's thanks to working together with the Onion Share team and the Briar team, we've been able to make a really great app here. Okay, and so I have a link. I'm going to share it as a QR code. Tor browser has a built-in QR code scanner. That's pretty cool. So if I was sharing this over a video chat or in person, I can just scan that code, or it could take a little while for the Onion service to propagate. But look, boom, there it is. That was really nice. So there's 3 files here. I can just download all those files directly. So really some fun way to go back and forth. You can share very large files. Here I'm going to actually copy this, and I can share it via a signal message over here. Boom. I can copy this link, and of course I can go to Onion Browser and I can paste in that link, and now that'll access it from the Android device. This is where you see this ecosystem of Tor-enabled apps on different platforms being able to connect and share, so that's really exciting. So here we have F-Droid, and for a long time it's had support via our system for accessing Tor on Android devices called NetCipher, and we have that ability here to access Tor. So now everything is going over Orbot. So as you update your F-Droid repo, you can access Onion-based repos, and there's actually many options there. So that's another example of a ecosystem. So Save from Open Archive is a human rights media preservation and archiving app that allows access to a WebDAV server or the Internet Archive directly, but also over Tor. It integrates with Orbot on both platforms, and more recently uses the Orbot kit on iOS to allow direct integration with Orbot and starting and checking the status. So secure transit is a key feature, and we're really happy to be able to allow integration. And in the future, Save may have already built directly in to make sure that all functionality can be easily accessed directly over Tor, and you can have an Onion-based archiving server. So it's available today on Google Play and the App Store. You can also see here the Radio Free Asia app actually uses and integrates with Orbot on the device. And so again, if Tor is available, it'll proxy itself through there, and you just transparently get to use Tor. The user isn't even noted, so you can really access all of this really important news if you're blocked, which it often is, from any of the world through Tor. So very excited. I also wanted to share that we are in the middle of a new initiative to really bring together all of the resources for mobile developers looking to build Tor into their apps or integrate with it as a service into one guide. And we're going to preview today for you the Tor Dev mobile dev guide, and I'll put the link below. We're just really excited to have feedback and contributions And really, as we move into the age of RD, Tor and Rust moving forward, where it's going to be even easier to integrate Tor, we have some really exciting new things coming on that front, having really a more unified, modern Tor code base for mobile developers, and even more great examples like Quiet and other apps integrating Tor. And so check it out. So thanks again. Sorry, no goofy avatars or weirdness this year, but just a lot of important information to share and let you all know we're here to help.
Awesome. Thank you, Nathan. And I'm glad to see that you're 100% human with none of those weird glitchy things from last time. One of the things that I was reminded of while watching this was Nathan's push some years ago for privacy preserving onion service baby monitors, where the baby monitor that he was that most people are using ends up using some sort of third-party cloud provider where the third party gets to spy on your baby, and you don't really know what sort of firmware and who's listening in on the connection and so on. And he was thinking, if you make the connection only available to yourself over an onion service, then you know who is connecting and you know that you're the only one who's able to be watching your baby. So that sort of rearranges the usual expectations where people are like, OMG encryption, to actually turn it about safety for you and your family. Okay, moving to the next one. We've got Holmes from Quiet. One of the scary things about centralized architectures in productivity apps is that centralization where you never know what Google or Dropbox or whatever are doing in terms of monetizing you. So Quiet is a cool example of using the building blocks that Tor provides to create something more. Holmes, it's you.
Great. Yeah, thanks. And that was a great overview of like what's been happening on mobile by Nathan. If we could bring up my slides. Awesome. So yeah, I'm going to talk about our effort to make our Tor-based Slack alternative, Quiet, useful to teams that need privacy. Our mission is to build a Slack alternative that lets communities control all their own data without running their own servers. So how does it work? Like Onion Share and Ricochet-Refresh, each peer has an Onion address. Peers in a community in Quiet connect over Tor to form their own private IPFS network. And then on top of that, a CRDT, which is a tool for syncing data without servers, syncs all new data in the community, whether it's messages, DMs, attachments, user info, and so on, whenever users connect to each other, so that users can see messages sent while they were offline, for example. This design lets us approach the simplicity of Slack without relying on servers. How does joining a Quiet community work? Users join by clicking an invite link, the same as they would with Slack or WhatsApp, that contains peer addresses. Usernames are registered with the community owner to prevent impersonation. And while right now the community owner must be online for users to join, this is fixed in our next release. And it was a lot of work getting it done. Really proud of that change. But the most important question is, who are we building Quiet for? We've been doing a ton of user research and interviews, and we've decided that the niche for us is teams who need a Slack-like space with the security of Signal without running their own servers. So we're tailoring Quiet to the needs of a few particular groups, including a group of climate activists, an abortion fund in the US, and a Russian language news organization. What security properties do these groups need? Of course, they need end-to-end encryption, but data retention is also really important. So they need disappearing messages, but not just disappearing messages that any user can set. Groups also often need organization-wide admin-enforced retention limits. And they need Slack-like access control too. Signal group chats get just too chaotic for an organization with a large team, and that creates a security problem. Like, if you need to remove someone from your organization quickly and you're in 40 different group chats with them, that isn't going to go well. So that's important too. And then beyond security, in terms of features, users need Slack-like channels and threads. They need flexible roles that reflect their organization's actual structure. We're hearing from groups that Discord is probably the best fit here because it offers the most flexibility. So that basic approach is the one we're looking at. And they need features like reactions, mentions, dark mode, and just a long list of features in order for Quiet to be viable to their team. But more than anything, They need reliable Android and iOS apps that are as snappy and usable as WhatsApp and Telegram. Teams are just not going to switch to Quiet until it works for everybody on their team. So here's what we're building to make Quiet useful. Last year, we launched our Android app, and I got to demo that at State of the Onion. This year, we launched our iOS app in test flight, which is available on our website. We did a ton of work improving the joining process by adding WhatsApp-style invite links and QR codes. And most importantly, we've planned out an approach to notifications on iOS. Our iOS app does not yet have notifications because iOS apps cannot run in the background like they can on Android. But we've planned out an approach to iOS notifications based on relay servers that we think can get us to the WhatsApp level reliability that the teams we're focusing on need. And we're starting work on that now. So I'm going to do a live demo, and let's see, we can switch to my screen now. Okay, oops. Here we are, and get rid of the mirror effect. Okay, cool. So here I have Quiet on desktop and Quiet on Android and Quiet on iOS, and they are in a group together. And I'm going to say hello from Android. Oops, I'm going to say hello here from Android and send a message. And everyone received it. I'm going to say hi back from my Ubuntu, Quiet. And everyone received it, including on iOS. And now I'm going to send a celebratory image to everyone. The Quiet supports group file sharing and image sharing. Yay. And there we are. So that is a very simple demo, but it shows that we've achieved the baseline of building an app that people can use on all the devices they have, and iOS notifications are coming soon. So I will end there. We could switch back to my last slide, perhaps. Great. So thanks, everybody. And check us out on tryquiet.org. We've had a bunch of great interest from open source contributors this year and a few features pushed. So if you're interested in hacking on something like this, our whole stack is Node.js and React and Electron and stuff like that. So it's fairly welcoming, and I'd be happy to do a call with you to get you started.
Wow, a live demo, and it worked. Well done. I'm especially impressed at the focus on specific use cases with actual users who need this, because that helps you make sure that you're building something that actual people actually want and use and find usable. And I mean, part of the challenge with messaging things like this in general is the network effect, where you need enough people to want to switch to it that their friends have switched to it. And that means you live in the misery of, I need emojis and I need reactions and I need all these things that other people have. So kudos to you for making it work.
Thanks.
Okay, our next talk is in a related area. It's Richard talking about Ricochet-Refresh. It's another cool example of something you can build on top of Onion services. One of the cool things about Ricochet, so it's for secure messaging, think like Signal, but without a center. So rather than, in most cases, the secure messaging systems have some cloud service in the middle that knows who all the users are and who talks to who and when you talk to them and how much. Instead, each user, each peer is an Onion service, and that means there's no middle, there's no place that you can go to break into or send a subpoena or threaten or whatever. And with that, I'll please roll the video.
Hi, my name is Richard. It's going to be your Ricochet-Refresh and Gosling update for 2023. So Blueprint for Free Speech is an international nonprofit that promotes the right to freedom of expression. Whenever I'm not doing browser and application stuff for the Tor Project, I'm over here helping them. We're the maintainer for Ricochet-Refresh, and we're also currently developing Gosling. So as a reminder, Ricochet-Refresh is a peer-to-peer Onion service-based instant messenger. It's available for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux, and it has all the sort of awesome properties associated with Onion services around anonymity, decentralization, and metadata resistance. This year, a volunteer contributed an Estonian translation. We have upgraded OpenSSL to 3.0. We have added new app icons and various installation assets. We have a complete rewrite of the Ricochet build system, which we use for our cross-platform builds. This is completely from scratch using the same underlying tech we used in Tor browser build, but doesn't have the same sort of legacy browser stuff that the previous implementation had. We migrate our macOS signing to our code sign, so we don't need a Apple device to sign our macOS releases anymore. We upgraded various dependencies, and probably most exciting here, we added a native macOS Arch64 build in the most recent release. So if you have a new ARM-based Mac, then you can have native binaries. And most recently, we have added from the Tor Browser 13.0 series the Conjure and WebTunnel pluggable transports. So if you have Conjure or WebTunnel bridge lines, they will also work in most recent Ricochet-Refresh releases. Gosling is a peer-to-peer connection and authentication protocol over Tor. It sort of generalizes and improves upon the handshake used by Ricochet-Refresh clients to authenticate with each other. And kind of like the high-level goal of Gosling was to take that piece and put it in its own library and make it possible for developers to develop their own sort of peer-to-peer applications that have all of these sort of like onion service properties without having to go and become a Tor expert and a crypto expert and all that sort of stuff. You know, it's kind of download it, integrate it, and use it is kind of the hope anyway. You can find our specification at this link. This year has been This year, the sort of kind of overarching theme has been sort of a professionalization of the library. So like we were in very much prototyping investigation phase last year. This year, we were focusing on things that you would expect a professional software project to have. So documentation, tests, examples, a website, all that kind of stuff. And basically everything on this list falls out from that. Recently, we published the Gosling crate to crates.io. So it's in an alpha state at the moment. You can still expect, ABI changes and definitely protocol changes coming over the next year. But it's available to play with if you want to build a peer-to-peer application that has these awesome onion service properties. This crate is now available for you to do so. So what's next? Ricochet-Refresh is basically in maintenance mode. There will, of course, be ongoing updates as we have Tor and pluggable transport updates inherited from Tor browser. We'll also be doing a little bit of investigation into generally improving the protocol and kind of like the work that needs to be done to integrate Gosling back into Ricochet-Refresh so that it can benefit from all the sort of protocol improvements that we've been playing with there. In Gosling, we are kind of continuing this, professionalization, if you will. We have a few more things to fuzz. We have example apps to build and language bindings to write and documentation to write, and a couple other minor features around the current Tor integration. So things like, bridge support, and various other sort of like configuration tweaks, ports and firewall, that kind of thing. We're going to have to undergo another security review and fix the various issues that come out of that. After this sort of professionalization work, we have funding to do a bit more integration work in the back end. So currently, Gosling is just using the legacy Tor daemon and has a very sort of uninteresting, Tor controller and all that associated logic. But we want to add support for both in-proc and out-of-proc RD in the coming year, and eventually Tor VPN support so that we can bring peer-to-peer onion service apps to Android, which I am pretty excited about. Here are some links. Like I said before, you can play with the crate now on crates.io. It's just called Gosling. The name wasn't taken, which is awesome. So yeah, come check it out. Thanks.
Beautiful. I like the idea of separating Gosling into the library side of things because Tor onion services give you end-to-end encryption and authentication, but they don't give you the application layer authentication that you want when you actually want to know who the person is that you're talking to on the other side. So having that in a library that people can reuse and that we think is done right is really important. Okay, moving on to the next one. We have an intermission. Matt, could you give me some slides? Awesome. So if we had a 3-hour talk, 3-hour slot, you would be hearing from all these other interesting nonprofits in our space, but I wanted to highlight just a few of them here for you to learn more about other things. Check them out on your own time. So some example cool orgs in our space. The Library Freedom Project is from Allison. She's part of the Tor world. Libraries share a lot of overlapping values with Tor, privacy, freedoms, and so on. So she's been training librarians on how to protect and teach free speech and freedoms and privacy. Access Now is a huge advocacy group in our space, trying to keep track of the laws and policies and what governments are up to and steering people in the right direction. Global Voices is a group from all around the world of bloggers. They've been around for about as long as Tor has, trying to tell people what is actually happening on the ground in their areas so that you don't have to rely on some mainstream news outlet to actually tell you what's going on. ASL 19 focuses on Iran in particular and trying to help folks there have more freedoms and become the sort of country that they can. Citizen Lab does a bunch of really interesting research on what's going wrong around the world in terms of big tech and so on. We Tor had a panel with one of the Citizen Lab people and an Amnesty person a while ago on Pegasus spyware. Other pieces of our ecosystem, there are a lot of nonprofits around the world who run relays and exit relays for the Tor network. And one of them that we're highlighting this year is Nos Oignons. It's the French nonprofit that runs relays and exit relays in France. So in general, the Tor network is made up of a bunch of different volunteer relay operators around the world, but more and more people are realizing that if you band together as an organization in your area, then you can collect donations from your own community. There's a corporate entity that's the one running the relays. So these are all important reasons to scale that sort of thing. So we've got the one in France that has a really cool video that we just pointed about, that I think we will soon point about in the chat. And there's one in the Netherlands, there's one in Sweden, there are several in Germany, there's one in Canada, there are several in the US. So check out the Relay Associations list to learn more about all the important nonprofits who are helping make the Tor network exist. And another org in our space is Localization Lab. They're the ones who coordinate doing translations for a bunch of internet freedom applications like Tor, Tor browser, and a bunch of the other ones that you've been hearing about today. And it's not part of the first step for localization is translation, but you also need to actually figure out how to make it make sense in the new culture that you're translating for. And another angle that we would talk about today if we had more time is the research community. There are two interesting venues for researchers. The first one is the PETS, Privacy Enhancing Technologies Symposium. I believe it's happening in July in England next. And this is where all of the anonymity, anonymous communications researchers go to talk to each other about how to build a better Tor, how to attack Tor, how to understand threats, this sort of thing. And the other one is the Free and Open Communications on the Internet workshop, the FOCI or FOCI workshop. And it's also happening attached to PETS in England in July. And it focuses more on the censorship side of things, understanding, measuring, getting around censorship. So if you're interested in if you're part of academia or you want to learn what's going on, check out those two conferences. And then the last piece of the ecosystem we wanted to highlight here is the Briar messaging tool is another in the same space as Ricochet and Quiet and others. And it aims to have Tor integration and let people communicate with each other in a peer-to-peer on the ground, even when internet shutdowns are one of the threats kind of situation. Secure Drop is another thing that we should all know about and learn about. It's a whistleblowing platform that major mainstream news organizations run in order to let people reach them with important news stories that they otherwise wouldn't be able to whistleblow about. And then Nathan mentioned Open Archive, but I'm going to mention it again as a really cool example of an activist-oriented, usability-oriented mobile app in terms of there you are and you just witnessed some horrible thing happening in the protest, and you have a video, but how do you get that video safely to the right place in a situation where maybe the network connectivity isn't so good and where there are real threats? Okay, and with that, I'm going to move to our next step, talking about Donica and Onion services. And he's going to tell us more about a new Onion service that they have set up. There's a long series of excellent examples of Onion services that mainstream sites have set up, like New York Times and BBC, and Facebook has an Onion service, and Twitter set up an Onion service, but that isn't going as well as it could because Twitter isn't going as well as it could. And Cloudflare has an Onion service. So there are a bunch of great examples of major websites that decided to add some more safety. And Donica, tell us what you've been up to.
Thank you, Roger. My name is Calyx Institute, and I work for Amnesty International. Amnesty International is a global human rights movement with more than 10 million members and supporters from over 150 countries. And our goal is to continue for a world where human rights are enjoyed and respected.
You've got some sort of terrible echo thing going on. I wonder if there's a... I figure I'll jump in and let you know that. Testing. Now you're muted. Try again.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, beautiful.
Okay, better. Okay, I'll start again. Sorry about that. So, hi all, I work for Amnesty International. We're the world's biggest global human rights movement with members around the world. We have over 10 million members and supporters, and our goal is really to fight for a world where human rights are respected and available for all. So over the past 62 years, Amnesty International has carried out cutting-edge human rights research and campaigns to document how human rights are being abused and to ensure that these rights can be protected. At Amnesty, we're always trying to follow the trends and threats that are emerging for our human rights. And as part of this work at Amnesty, we have set up a security lab over the last 5 years. And the goal of our security lab, which I'm heading, is to specifically look at how digital technologies such as spyware and surveillance can impact and threaten civil society and human rights defenders. The Tor Project and the Tor software has really been a key tool that's helped power some of our work. We've carried out kind of major investigations with journalists into really advanced surveillance software such as the Pegasus spyware that Roger just mentioned. And the Tor, and especially Tails, was kind of essential to let us communicate and collaborate and do this research safely and effectively in a world where spyware is being used rampantly and where we're threatened by this. And so first I want to say thanks to Tor and all the Tails community for building and maintaining this software. Unfortunately, many states around the world are also using censorship and surveillance systems to block access from their citizens to evidence about human rights violations in their country and region. As part of this, many states are blocking the websites of Amnesty and other organizations such as Human Rights Watch. Data from the Open Observatory Network Interference has tracked censorship of Amnesty International's websites in China, Vietnam, Russia, Algeria, amongst others. So today, to help ensure that our human rights content and Amnesty's resources are available safely and freely around the world, we've launched an encrypted Onion site on the Tor network, which is a mirror of Amnesty's website to help people be able to access our content without fear of being under surveillance and without fear that they're going to somehow be intimidated or threatened just for getting information about how to protect their rights. So really excited to have this out there, and we hope it's both useful for our visitors and readers who want to get this content, but also we hope it's useful to show why technology such as Tor is necessary to help people protect their human rights in practice. It's not just enough to say, people deserve their rights, but also they need to have means to protect themselves when censorship and surveillance is rampant. Thank you. I think you muted, Roger.
Beautiful. Now I'm unmuted. Perfect. I'm happy to see Amnesty as another great example of an onion service that that is helping the world to be safer and recognizing the importance of getting to websites safely and successfully. The end-to-end encryption and end-to-end authentication that you can get out of onion services is really helpful for situations where maybe some censor is trying to step in and prevent people from reaching a website, or some attacker is trying to step in and pretend to be a website. I remember talking to the Facebook security people a while ago, where one of their motivations for setting up Facebook's onion service was Turkey. What happens if Turkey runs a certificate authority and they pretend to be Facebook, and they like Facebook puts a lot of effort into teaching people to look for the little lock in the browser and so on, but having security on the web is involves a lot more steps than just that. So great. And our next, thank you, Donica. Our next topic is from Cooper from EFF, talking about the Tor University Relay Advocacy campaign that they're working on. And that's part of our push in recent years to re-emphasize network health on the Tor side. You heard from the network health team last week. And also part of the goal is to normalize running relays in educational institutions in particular. I mean, that's where a lot of people learn about the internet and learn about what priorities and values and so on. And also we want to use the campaign to motivate building better tools to better understand our network. And from there, Cooper, please.
Thanks, Roger. And hi, everybody. My name is Cooper Clinton. I'm a senior staff technologist at the Electronic Frontier Foundation. And today I'll be giving the first semester report card for our Tor University Challenge. So the Tor University Challenge is a project that we started in August of 2023. It's been a collaboration of Tor and EFF. The goals, as Roger said, are first and foremost to help strengthen the Tor network. Universities have some of the best networks in the world. They have a lot of bandwidth. They have a lot of people around. They have a lot of people to keep the network going and keep the relays going. We also think, though, that this can help prevent censorship of the Tor network. Universities will be less likely to block the Tor network in their university networks if they are in fact running Tor relays themselves. They will also be less likely, other universities that aren't running Tor relays will be less likely to block Tor because they won't want to block connections to other universities and hamper academic collaboration. And we hope that this will hold true worldwide. And the third goal of this is to get more university students interested in Tor and interested in internet freedom and free speech and all of the other cool things that surround Tor, and get them learning about that and get them learning about these worldwide causes. So we're excited for those possibilities. At launch in August, we had 13 launch partners all around the world, but mostly based in the US and EU. Our launch partners included the Technical University Berlin, Boston University, University of Cambridge, Carnegie Mellon, University College London, other big names like that, MIT, and of course the University of Waterloo. Since then, we've added 7 new universities, some small, like University of North Carolina, some in the Global South, Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México, University of the Philippines, University of Bremen, and some that I can't pronounce, like the Universitatea Politehnica Timisoara in Romania. And we're very happy to have all these universities. These are all universities that have been running relays for, in some cases, many years now. In some cases, running very large relays, running multiple relays. But this has been a chance to reconnect with these universities, reestablish the relationships between EFF and Tor and these universities, answer any questions they have, and make sure that they're set up to continue running their relays for many years to come. So we're very excited about that. But we haven't just made contact with universities that are already running relays. In addition, we've made contact with 5 brand new institutions who are in the process of setting up brand new relays. And we're really excited to see these new universities and colleges start to run relays, participate in the Tor network, and become a part of this campaign. This process takes a lot of time, and it's not easy. You have to do a lot of convincing of various people in your university, people like general counsels, people in the IT department, people and other various functionaries of the university. And so we've made the website with lots of helpful advice for you to convince these people that your university should run a relay. In addition, we've made contact with national research and education networks in Europe, also called NRENs. In the US, colleges and universities buy their own bandwidth, buy their own network access. But in the EU, colleges and universities get their access from the NRENs, from the National Research Education Networks. So that means that every university in a specific country, like Germany, will get their uplink from the German NREN. So as you can imagine, it's very important, especially in the EU, to make contacts within these NRENs. And we've had a lot of success in that. If the NRENs allow running Tor relays, or if the NRENs are running Tor relays themselves, which many are, it makes our job a lot easier. So we're very happy to have made contact with them as well. But what do we need now? Well, we want you. We want more new universities to join our coalition. If you're a student, a teacher, a postdoc, administrator, anybody who works at a university, we would love to talk to you. We have many helpful tips on convincing the necessary stakeholders at your university why this project is important. We're happy to get on calls with people at your university as well. As you may know, EFF has a couple of lawyers on deck, and they're very good at convincing other lawyers why Tor is fun and safe and great for their university, for your university to be a part of. We especially want more connections with universities outside of the US and Europe, but we also want connections with universities in the US and Europe. We want universities everywhere in the entire world. South America, Africa, US, Europe, Asia, all 7 continents, particularly Antarctica. If you don't have, and you don't have to be in a CS department to join. We welcome political science departments, journalists, international relations, any other humanities or STEM department to join this campaign. We think that Tor is interesting for everybody. We think it's useful for everybody, and we welcome anybody to join. All the only things you need are a computer, some bandwidth, time, and a willingness and excitement to participate. And you'll get a prize. Every university that keeps their relay up for more than a year, we will send you these fabulous custom challenge coins, one for each member of your group that's keeping the relay going. And we will send them to you for free as a token of our thanks for keeping the university going. We're very excited to send these out, and we have a lot of them. So get some Tor relays going so you can get a really cool challenge coin. And go to toruniversity.eff.org to get started, and you can email us there, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much for all your time, and back to you, Roger.
Beautiful. I encourage everybody to check out the website, toruniversity.eff.org, where we've got documentation on why you should run a relay at your university and why universities are good places and how to set it up, and if you've got legal questions and all of that. So check out the website, and please contact Cooper or us or your professors or your research group or your students or whatever makes most sense for you for getting more relays going. Our next talk is from Nick Merrill, talking about Calyx OS, which is another on the mobile side, talking about how to have an entire system that keeps people safe and has everything set up correctly. So Nick, let's hear it.
Thanks, Roger. Hey, I'm Nick Merrill, president of the Calyx Institute. I'm happy to be back with you again this year, and I'm excited to tell you about some big developments that we've achieved for the accessibility of privacy software in 2023. As you may know, the Calyx Institute's mission is to bring privacy by design to everyone. Because in many parts of the world, mobile devices are people's primary computers, we focus on bringing privacy to phones. One of our major projects is Calyx OS, which is a version of the Android operating system incorporating privacy by design principles. Calyx OS already comes out of the box with Tor browser, Orbot, OONI probe, Signal, and this year we worked with Tor to build the Android port of Onion Share, which is now available on the Google Play Store and soon to be on the open source F-Droid App Store. And we will be including Onion Share as part of Calyx OS 2. This year, we developed and shipped a version of Calyx OS that runs on 3 Motorola phones that are low cost and much more globally available than the Google Pixel phones, which we have traditionally supported. The 3 new phones are the Moto G32, G42, and G52. One of my biggest wishes has always been that we'd be able to support phones that cost under $100 and are globally available. And these phones bring us much closer to that goal than ever before. This is a huge win for the global South because unlike Google Pixel phones, these phones are sold in Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, the Middle East and North Africa, and South Asia. And they're also available in some huge and important countries such as China, Russia, Indonesia, and Mexico. This is a big deal for the digital divide because the low cost of these phones, $100 to $150, is less than half the cost of the Pixel phones we've traditionally supported. I want to thank the Tor Project for being a reliable partner with the Calyx Institute, and I look forward to years of collaboration in the future. Onwards and upwards. Back to you.
Beautiful. Yeah, Nick's always doing interesting things in terms of actually usable things that people around the world need for being safer. Okay, and that leads us to the end of this year's Community State of the Onion. We talked to you about a bunch of different pieces of our ecosystem. You too can help with the Tor ecosystem. So if any of these things that you just heard about sounded interesting to you, please consider contributing in some way. If you don't have time or skills or energy to contribute, consider contributing money. In the Tor case, we've got matching funding. So if you give us $25, then in December, in this month, then that turns into $50. Some people care about privacy. Some other people care about reachability. There are a lot of different reasons for why you might care about the freedoms that tools like Tor and our internet freedom ecosystem provide. If you live in a part of the world where your freedoms or your free speech are doing pretty well, consider giving back. Consider working to make sure that other people in some less fortunate areas of the world also have that ability to speak freely, to learn freely, to understand, to safely understand what's going on in their part of the world and in the rest of the world. Consider giving to us or to all these other nonprofits that we've highlighted for you. There are a lot of different groups out there who are doing really important things. Please run relays in the Tor network. Please integrate Tor into your own project, your own thing, so that it can benefit from the scaling, the network effects that we talked about. Please help us spread the word about privacy and human rights and why they're important. And lastly, thank you to all of our speakers. Thank you to Pavel and Matt and the folks in the back end handling and making everything go smoothly. And thank you to you, our community, for helping to make sure that all of this can continue to exist. See you next time.